whose contributions help shape our history. This memorial preserves the important stories and ensures it remains part of Santa Ana's collective memory. The Santa Ana Chinatown Memorial stands as both a tribute and a teaching tool for future generations. I first learned of this story by reading an article in the OC Weekly written by Gustavo Arellano. Is Gustavo here?
Yes.
Mr. Arellano, raise your hand. Yes, and he's one of our historians in Santa Ana, where me as a teacher took in his lessons and I read them. I applied them in my classroom. We've been teaching this since 2015, passing on children's books, comics, and paintings. I first started doing this, I passed on a lot of this history onto future teachers, Mike Rodriguez and Lynn Lee, who teach this in the People's History of Orange County. There's Lynn Lee here.
Right here.
And she teaches this and creates art pieces for our family, being historians the historian that Gustavo was, allowed our students also to preserve this history in their artwork and also become historians and empower them through that. Many of these stories are coming down through the work of Gustavo Arellano, so I want to give him applause to Gustavo. And thank you for being the historian that Santa Ana has needed for so many years. This contribution that we're doing today now is in Santa Ana classrooms in ethnic studies. Very important to continue our story. So I really appreciate the work of the ethnic studies group that included Chinatown, that stories who were in the classroom led to this monument. So I appreciate all the teachers, all the students who continue the work. Now all Santa Ana residents and visitors will have an opportunity to learn about the history right here on the corner of 3rd and Bush as we outlook back facing Chinatown. As we unveil this memorial and our commitment to telling the story of our city, one that recognizes every community whose sacrifices and achievements help shape the Santa Ana we know today. Thank you.
Facebook সকলে সাদরে YouTube লিডার সকালে দেবে YouTube নো because the YouTube সকলে সাদরে শিখে বুঝুন
Councilmember, thank you so much.
Facebook
Now,
সকলে
please welcome Councilmember Jesse Lopez.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Councilwoman Lopez, and Councilmember Vasquez touched a little bit about this. When I first got elected to the City Council, I did not know this history. Much like my own history, I wasn't aware of what had happened to the elders in my own community. And so I do want to thank the educators that are here present. I want to thank the journalists that are here that have helped preserve this history. I want to thank our historians. I see Dylan back there, who's also one of our commissioners, who sat down with me, and Manny Escamilla as well, and said, do you know that this happened in your city? And what does the city plan to do to help bring some sort of, I think, justice to a community that has, for a really long time, had not received any type of accountability. And that mattered because even though I was not around when this happened, I represent the city now. And so I think it has always been important to not ignore the wrongs and the injustices that have happened before, but to really to really confront them and say, how can we do better moving forward? Because we are a city that is so diverse, whether you're Vietnamese, whether you're a refugee, whether like me, you're a proud daughter of immigrants, whether your family has been here for generations, you have contributed to what the city is today. And I think that matters, and I hope that we get to hear from your perspective as well, because I know that you contributed to the work that we are all celebrating here today. And because history matters, and because it shapes who we are and how we approach our everyday life, this memorial helps us to tell a story that for too long was overlooked. The story of Santa Ana's Chinese American residents whose community was displaced and intentionally, maliciously destroyed. Today, we don't just honor their legacy and reaffirm our commitment to equity, inclusion, diversity, and dignity for all people in our city. Santa Ana has made it clear that we will stand by all communities that live in our city. We are a city that, as I said, is built by generations of diverse households, hardworking people who have contributed financially to our city, culturally to our city, and who have contributed block by block. Times have changed since the burning of Chinatown 120 years ago, but today we do embrace those who come here to make a better life for themselves, for their families, for their children, and to give back to a really beautiful place. So today we not only acknowledge the wrongdoings of the past, we also celebrate the future and what the future can be when we all stand united, when we all support each other, when we do not let divisive rhetoric come between the bonds that our communities have built, and when we always center what is most important, supporting people, uplifting people, and making sure that we always never forget that we never want the injustices of the past to be perpetuated again, and that we all, every single one of you that is here, you all have a responsibility to carry that and to honor that in your personal lives. And so again, I just want to thank the historians that took time to sit with me. I hope that we're able to hear from them, the journalists that have preserved this history, all of the educators, everybody that approached me when I was first elected in 2020 and said, do you know this? And I want to thank them for making me a better representative and for sharing that knowledge with me. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Now please welcome Councilmember Phil Becerra.
Thank you, Paul. As we celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, this memorial unveiling today reaffirms that Santa Ana is a city that values diversity, inclusion, and belonging for all. This is both a recognition of history and a celebration of community. The Chinese American pioneers who lived and worked here helped build Santa Ana during its earliest years. Yet their story was nearly lost. By creating this monument, we acknowledge the injustice that occurred and affirm our responsibility to preserve this history with honesty and respect. And I'm very honored to serve on a council that is as diverse as it ever could be. We have Latino representation. You're looking at the second ever Asian American that was elected to this council, and the third ever was Thai Viet Pham.
Yay!
First ever Filipino American, first ever Vietnamese American. And we came together and recognized the injustice that was done by our predecessors in the last century. And I appreciate that we all stood together unanimously in support of the resolution and the creation of this memorial. So as we celebrate AAPI Heritage Month, this monument reminds us of the strength and resilience of our Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. Recognizing the history of Chinese American communities, including the legacy commemorated by the Santa Ana Chinatown Memorial, helps ensure that future generations understand the full story of our shared history. We are the capital of Orange County, and it's a beautiful history to have. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Councilmember. Now please welcome our final speaker, Councilmember Jonathan Ryan Hernandez.
If I could please respectfully ask the committee that worked on this initiative to please come to the front, as well as the Lau family. If we could have the Lau family work their way up to the front, please. Thank you. All right. Before I can speak, I need to make sure that you can all see our community here. Can you see them loud and clear? All right, wonderful. Well, first and foremost, good morning. Today, important day for Anna. Today, Saturday, May 23rd, 2026. We are celebrating and commemorating a changing of Santa Ana's history. The Santa Ana Chinatown Memorial Monument of Santa Ana's historic Chinatown, and it acknowledges the importance of the Chinese American community in our early days of our city. I want to preface the highlighting that the early days highlights a very significant part of Santa Ana's development, but all of the history that has been continued forward by families like the Lau family, Mr. Wu, and the tremendous leaders that are here, is a reflection of why people like myself belong in Santa Ana. Because the Chinese families fought so that families of all backgrounds could exist here in this community that we all love and cherish so greatly. In 1906, the city of Santa Ana's Board of Trustees made the decision to use our local government as a weapon for violence. That violence saw over 800 people displaced, pushed into our riverbed. We saw the Chinese community excluded from American history. We saw legislation passed that targeted our Chinese families. And in Santa Ana, our council shamefully waged war on our Chinatown. The Chinatown was once strong right behind us here. And in that Chinatown, thanks to the historians, thanks to the Chinese community, thanks to journalists, we've been able to slowly learn more about that history. This memorial today represents an important act of historical truth-telling. We need to name injustices, and we need to make sure that racism has no place in Santa Ana. And emphatically, we need to make racists feel uncomfortable in our city, especially in local government. It reminds us that progress requires us to confront injustice and to do so honestly. Even when that history is painful, and even when that history shames our entire city. Acknowledging these difficult chapters of Santa Ana's history does not weaken us as a community. It demonstrates the courage, the accountability, and a commitment that Santa Ana is going to learn from its past. And we have, and we will continue to learn and demonstrate the city's growth. The destruction of Santa Ana's Chinatown in 1906 was an act of white supremacy. It was an act of racism and discrimination. And this was an act that harmed an entire community, and that harm still exists here today. Today, it is important that as we make this apology and we unveil this history, that we say clearly that those actions were wrong. And that those actions have no place in Santa Ana, they have no place in Orange County, they have no place in California, and they have no place in the United States. It is our responsibility as Americans to make sure that no one who lives in this country thinks that they can impose violence on another group of people, especially if they are migrants, especially if they are Asian, especially if they are Chinese. When we recognize this discrimination, the exclusion, and the hardships that these communities endured before us, we honor the people who persevered despite those challenges. The Santa Ana Chinatown Memorial helps preserve these stories and gives the future generations the opportunity to reflect on both the progress we've made and the work that still remains. I would like to pass the microphone to the Chinese community of Santa Ana, the community that I proudly represent, the community that gave my family its very first opportunity. Before my family could call themselves citizens, we lived off of 2nd and Baker Street. And our home market was the Santa Ana Food Market. And my great-grandparents who came here as braceros from San Juan de los Lagos, Jalisco, my grandfather Jose and my grandmother Carmen Atilano Lopez, lived on 2nd and Baker. It was through their brave journey to come to Santa Ana that I was able to eventually see my grandparents be brought here and my mother be born here. But it was the Lau family that fed generations of my Prieto and Hernandez family. It was the Lau family who purchased the homes on Walnut to house the very people who worked in that market. It was the Lau family that for generations made sure that we could afford our eggs and our meat and our milk and our chicken and all the fruits that were important and all the tomatillos that they needed so we could have the best salsas. It was the Lau family who built that bridge, and they did so with a brick and mortar grocery store. And it is with great pleasure to pass the microphone to you. If we could please put our hands together for the Lau family. Thank you. We have present 5 generations of them. So if perhaps we start with the elders and we work our way to the future.
Hello, my name is Louis Lau. I'm the oldest of the brothers. We came to Santa Ana in 1949 when I was just a little boy. And I went to high school here in Santa Ana, and Santa Ana College also. So we've been here quite a while. So older brother just retired a few years ago. And then we served Santa Ana mostly to Latinos. So, I think that's all I have to say. I need to say something else. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Guy Lau, and like my brother said, we've been serving the Santa Ana area since 1949. We ran the store until 2022 when we finally retired, and we still have the store. It's under the management of another corporation. But during this time, we service generations of customers, ranging from white people to the colored community. As right now, we've been serving we have been serving the Hispanic trade when we left. But we did our best, and all our brothers, we all work mainly almost 24/7 as a family. But we appreciate you guys coming. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Wally Lau. I'm the youngest of the brothers. And I'm a true Santa Ana resident, born actually in Santa Ana, California, at the Santa Ana Community Hospital. Now with the age right now, that has changed to convalescent hospital. Maybe I'll be going there later on in my life. But actually, working and living in Santa Ana all my life, I can see the changes in our community. It's all changed for the better. We all went to elementary school. I went to McKinley and Franklin, and I went to Lathrop, Santa High School, Santa College, and we all graduated from college. We all worked as well. It was our pleasure to serve the community in Santa Ana. I still remember the time we served communities from Asian to Hispanics to whites. I remember we had from filet mignon to lamb heads in our store. We had everything. We served everybody. And our family treated and respected everybody in our community. And my family, my father taught us to respect that. It says, hey, whatever you need to do, you have to respect your community. And nowadays that we retired, but we still support the city of Santa Ana. So we're here to support the burning, the monument of Santa Ana, and we're here to represent Santa Ana and our family here. So that's all I have to say. But in my life, we worked our life to do our family and the community better. And in Spanish, my name is called Guru. I was to work at it with the family. So, hey, I'm proud to be part of the community, proud to serve our family and our community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lynn Lee. I am a resident of Santa Ana, also an educator. I was brought into the community as an educator. I've lived in Santa Ana for over 30 years. And I did a lot of, thanks to Gustavo, research on Chinatown here, and was able to create a whole lesson on it. And so I teach it in all the classes. I'm spreading it out to all the schools. And it's really important for people to know that, you know, after the adoption of California as a state, the main form of labor here in this area in Orange County was Chinese. It was the Chinese laborers who came in, and as Penelosa had said, They dug the canals, they built the infrastructure for the railroads, and they established arable land here that then was the foundation for the now famous orange crops. And then they were the labor that picked the oranges for a very long time until we had what was called the Chinese Must Go campaign that started in Northern California and San Francisco. And it swept all the way down through California, and then the Tacoma method, which was to burn down their Chinatown and ship out all the residents, not allowing them to rebuild, was adopted from all the Chinatowns here in California. The city council was not involved. It was mainly white vigilantes who burned them down, and then it was the city councils that got involved in not allowing Chinese to rebuild. This is the only Chinatown that was burned down with the order of a city council. A perfect example of institutional racism towards Chinese. And that whole era of ethnic cleansing, which swept across the United States, needs to be recognized. It pushed Chinese back to China, more than half of them. My great-great-grandfather, who was a part of the transcontinental railroad building, he came here in 1855.
Fully charged battery, fully
it's
charged.
Completely
Unplugged charger.
erased. I think there's one sentence in our U.S. history books in our U.S. history classes. I taught U.S. history for 20 years, and I had to embellish with all kinds of supplemental materials because it's not in our textbooks. So this really needs to be recognized, not just for the contributions of Chinese, that have built this area, but also the Mexican labor that came in afterwards that have, as you can see, Santa Ana is mainly Mexican, right? All of those contributions have to be recognized and understood that this is part of the building of the United States. We need to recognize the Black community. We have the historic Little Texas in Santa Ana, where if you were a Black family, you came here between 1920 and 1968, you had only one place to live, and that was in Little Texas in Santa Ana. So all of that needs to be understood. And of course, we have to recognize the Ahachiman, who were here first, the tribe that was colonized. And so I can go on and on because of course I'm an ethnic studies teacher and U.S. history teacher, but all of this, thank you so much for giving me this platform to educate you on the history of the exclusion of Chinese here, and I'm so honored to be a part of this. It's really has been a long time coming, and thank you for doing this.
We also want to dedicate to someone who's not here with the Lau family, and that's Ken Lau.
Yes.
Also, Jonathan mentioned that the residents that were burned out here went by the river. Down by the river, we were welcomed by the Black community, who were not allowed down here either. And because of that, Connie Jones, who was one of the early people that they're helping out, Bobby McDonald from the Black Chamber there, who will be doing a big celebration coming up to bring us all together. And also Annie Lee's here doing the archive at Chapman University, telling our stories and collecting them, so you should see her. Jack Twan is from the Asian American Museum, where we're hoping our stories will continue to grow. Also, our friend here from the Bowers Museum already has exhibits. If you haven't gone there, you should go there and see that. And it's all due because, again, we may not be a perfect city. We have issues, we have it, but we deal with it. And that's thanks to our councilman here and the councilman there. I really appreciate what you're doing and our city staff who put this all together. And I just want to thank you all for coming as well. And Gordon Hom is here from the California Southern Historical Society, Chinese American Historical Society. So we're well represented here, even with the president of Japanese American Citizen, too. Yeah. And then Jennifer Wong, of course, our only nonprofit here that represents the Chinese community. And we're going to grow if you help us out.
Yay.
Yay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Jennifer Wang. I'm the Executive Director of the Asian American Senior Citizen Service Center. This organization actually started in 1989. We started in Santa Ana, and we're going to continue to be in Santa Ana. I want to thank every single person here. I want to thank you as an individual, but thank you as agencies. Thank you as a community. Because I see a face of people I call, most of you guys, every day, every week, and thank you so much for always picking up my calls, answering my emails, and making today happen. It is a historical moment, and I want to thank our elders. Our elders, they are our memories, and they will continue to share their knowledge, share their experience, and I really want to make sure that we pay respect to them. After this, I ask every one of you to please go to our elders, go to our Lau family, introduce yourself. And one thing I also want to add, we started more than almost 40 years ago with the philosophy to care for elders and children as their own. This philosophy is enduring. This philosophy will continue for generations. And again, I want to thank everybody here for being here. Thank you.
Big thank you to the Lau family and to all of our representatives. And Councilmember Fan, thank you for your leadership. An honor to work with you on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here. So right now, in a few minutes, in a couple minutes, we're going to do the unveiling, and we'll invite everyone to come over. As you can see, the memorial's behind us. I'll have our city council members go over by the memorial. Everyone can gather around here on the sidewalk, but while we clear the flags, we're going to have one more performance, a line dance, before we do this. Thank you.
That's my mentor right there.